Hey everybody, Dirili here. Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of Hakuouki Demon of the Fleeting Blossom along Saito Hajime's route. And I am trying out a new mic today, so hopefully things will work out okay. I'm going to be recording a few episodes tonight. Hopefully this is okay because, like I said, it's going to be a few episodes, so if it's bad, bear with me and I'll go back to my old mic if this doesn't work out. But this mic should clean out some of the background noise a little better, so I won't have to manually clean it and spend so much longer doing that every day with the videos, and hopefully that should make the process faster. Alright, so without further ado, let's get on with Saito's route. You can sit back, relax, and let me read you a story. The war moved north, eventually coming to an end in a cold land known as Ezo, but not before the ground had been soaked in the blood of hundreds of men. On May 18th, 1870, the remnants of the shogunate's army finally surrendered, and the war was over at last. With the war over, Nagakura returned to Edo, or so I heard. I suspected he spent every day practicing his swordsmanship, even without a war to fight. Out of habit. Nagakura and Harada had split up during the war, and the rumor was that the latter had left Japan for Manchuria. Going to have a family with someone else instead of me. For some reason, I had no difficulty imagining Harada on a horse galloping across a wide open Manchurian plain. Okita had remained in Edo to fight his illness, but it had grown worse and he died during the war. Hijikata had taken what remained of the Shinsengumi to Sendai, and from there to Ezo. He'd fought until the end, and died in battle with the Imperial Army at Hakodate. Why do we have to hear about everybody's deaths? Heisuke had returned to Hijikata's side after the fight at Shirakawa Castle, and ultimately died along with him at Hakodate. Perhaps he'd gained some sense of fulfillment, knowing that he'd seen what became of the Shinsengumi. The Aizu fought desperately against the Imperial Army, but they were outmatched, and found themselves driven back, their territories captured. With no further recourse, they fled to Tanami. It was a cold, desolate region far to the north. The barren land could support little in the way of farming, and so the Aizu could take only a select few with them. Too many and all would starve. Saito was one of the number to whom an invitation was extended. Of course, he's like the most valuable player. They told him that life would be hard and conditions poor, but of course that mattered little to him. Saito accepted their invitation. Naturally, I decided to accompany him. Of course, we've come this far, why not? Months passed, and life settled into a rhythm. Where was Saito? He should have been off work and home some time ago, but nothing. The man had left ill-dressed for the cold as usual, and the approach of evening was not making the day any warmer. I decided to go and look for him. He's a fury, he can take a little cold. Only a short distance from the house I found him. I waved and called out, "Saito!" But he did nothing to suggest he heard or even noticed me. Perhaps I was too far away. I moved closer. "Saito, what are you doing here? You should be wearing a jacket or something." He still refused to turn around. "Why aren't you answering? I know you can hear me." I was close enough to touch him, but he showed no sign of even being aware of my presence. "Saito, what's going on here?" I walked around toward the front of him, but he turned to keep his back to me. What is going on here? This was getting frustrating. Are you teasing me? Then I thought of something. "Hajime, please look at me." He turned quite calmly. Because I called him Hajime? "I'm home, Chizuru." "Don't you I'm home me. What are you doing out here? It's freezing." "I thought if I waited long enough, you'd come get me." "Get you? If you wanted to see me, then you could have just come home. You can stand out here if you want, but at least come back and get a jacket. You're going to get cold like this." "I'm not cold." "Don't give me that. Your hands are practically blue. Come on, let's go home. It's nice and warm there." I tugged on his sleeve in an attempt to get him to move, but... That's cold! The hand he'd laid against my face was like an icicle. My mom does that to me all the time. Take her icy cold hands after coming in for the cold and put them on my neck. What are you doing? You're so cold." "Just a few more minutes." "For what?"
Just wait. You'll see.
Okay. He clearly wasn't going to tell me, so I resigned myself to wait. Here it comes. He lifted his head up toward the sky. And... we were waiting for snow? I followed his gaze and saw tiny flecks appear from the clouds overhead. Snow? This is what you wanted to show me? I wanted to watch the snowfall with you. More and more fell, soft, silent, and beautiful. You're such a romantic, Saito. Oh, it's so pretty. Oh, Chizuru looks pretty there too. So feminine. We'd seen snow aplenty since we come to Tonami, but this felt special somehow. It had a strange, almost otherworldly beauty to it, and yet a snowflake was so delicate, and the snow itself so fleeting. As we watched, I felt almost as if time had ceased to exist. I thought you might think so. His voice was quiet and warm. The Edo period ended, and the Meiji began, but our journey was still consumed by chaos. With the collapse of the shogunate, the old feudal system was done away with, and the domains were disbanded. Warriors were no longer given stipends, and the position of daimyo was dissolved. I heard rumors that every citizen would be required to spend a period of time in the military, in other words, as a warrior. Other politicians were working to destroy the privileges samurai had enjoyed for hundreds of years. The right to carry a sword was one such casualty. Apparently, the practice was considered barbaric in foreign countries. It looks like the day you talked about, when warriors don't carry swords anymore, might be here soon. I did not need a sword to be a warrior. What makes a warrior is his heart, not his birth or his weapon. He spoke with conviction. After we moved to Tonami, Hajime had begun drinking clean water from Mutsu. So far, he had yet to experience the bloodlust again. Still, he had used his fury powers many times while with the Shinsengumi, and there was no way for us to know how much time he might have left. Just like with, Soji. But while the water of life had undoubtedly taken some of his life from him, his experiences over the past years had given him a new surety of self. Whatever path he might choose in the future, I had no doubt that it would be the right one. Let's stay together forever. Yes. The snow continued to fall all around us. And that's our good ending. Oh. Well, I'll be cutting out the music for this. But I guess we'll start on the next ending right after this is over. My guess is that was the best ending. And we probably just have one more bad ending to go. So I'll let you enjoy the credits, I suppose, and then we'll start on that. Yeah, fortunately the credits on these things are not particularly long. This time we have to give him blood. Saito, please drink my blood. He shook his head silently as the pain was too great for him to speak, and he waved a shaking hand at me as if to say that his episode would pass soon enough. But he was in so much pain, I couldn't just do nothing. Please, I'll be fine. There was no point in arguing. I drew my sword and made a cut to my finger. Give me that. No, If you don't, you'll... I was sure he meant to simply take the sword away.
Oh, God. Give it to me.
That wasn't what I expected to hear. He took hold of my kodachi and stepped closer. I could hear his breathing rattling in his chest. The sword blade pressed against my ear. My ear? Why there? He must have wanted to cut somewhere where it would be barely visible. I felt a spark of pain as it broke through the skin, and then his face moved closer to mine. I could feel his breath on my ear. Oh. His lips pressed against my skin. Ugh. I shivered, and Saito stopped and pulled away.
Does it hurt?
His voice was barely above a whisper, but it sounded loud in my ear. I'm fine. It just tickled a bit. My body stiffened. I couldn't see his face from where he was, but there was a long moment where I wasn't sure whether or not he would go back to drinking. When I felt his tongue touch my ear again, a rush of relief ran through me. As he drank, Saito's breath eased, and his shaking began to subside. After some time, he slowly stepped back. Are you okay, baby?
I apologize.
For what? His face was pale, but at least the color was beginning to return. Don't worry about it. This will heal up in no time.
Drinking blood from the person you're supposed to protect. I seem to have put the cart before the horse.
That's no big deal. I want to protect you too. He gave a short bark of laughter. No, it's not like that. I mean, if you think about it, it's my fault you became a fury in the first place.
No, if I had been strong enough to defeat Kazuma, then this never would have happened.
He stood there silently for a moment, his back to me.
We should go back. The rest of the men will be getting up soon.
Right. And some skipping. And we must give him blood again. Please don't go nuts, Saito. I didn't know if it would really help, but it was all I could do. Saito, please, drink my blood. He jumped. This is an emergency, right? You have to regain your strength. He was still leaning heavily on my arm, and he winced with every breath. I drew my sword and made a small cut on my earlobe. Warm blood followed the cool pain of the blade. It's all right. You should feel better if you just drink some. I put my other arm around him and lifted my ear toward his face. Same picture. His cool lips touched my ear, and I shivered. Rough breath tickled me as he began to drink silently, but after only moments, his breathing slowed and the shaking faded away to nothing. I felt my heart beat in relief. At least I had been able to ease his pain, if only a little bit. That was when I noticed something strange. My cut had healed and closed, but Saito's lips and tongue still hadn't left my ear. I hope that's a good sign. Saito? I think it's closed up. He's enjoying himself. The hand he placed on my head as he drank twitched. Was that not enough blood? I can make another cut. He stepped back suddenly and violently, all but shoving my arms away. What's wrong? What is it? It's not bloodlust, it's another kind of lust.
My apologies.
He looked uncharacteristically shaken. Oh, Chizuru, you ruined the moment. What do you want me to do? Do you need some more blood?
No, I had enough.
It's something else he needs. Really? If you need more, you just have to ask, you know.
Right, okay.
He was acting very strange, and he looked extremely uncomfortable, but the color was starting to come back to his face. Whatever it was, it didn't seem to be too serious. We're skipping. And as before, continue toward the Aizu domain. And again, I must decide to stay. And this time we give him blood, and since we've given him so much blood, I'm afraid he's going to totally lose himself soon. So brace yourselves, this could be a bad ending. But let's see. Saito, please drink my blood. He frowned and turned his head away. I ignored him and slid my sword across my earlobe, just like I'd done before. The sight of blood overcame his reservations, and he reached out to pull me close. I shivered as his tongue touched my ear and started to lap up the blood. He continued until his breathing began to ease. I made to move away, relieved that he was feeling better, but his grip tightened. He whispered into my ear,
"Can we stay like this? Just a little longer?"
"As long as you like, darling." My heart melted. Of course. I snuggled deeper into his arms and smiled. And more skipping. So this'll skip until we end up at our new ending. Nope, okay, actually, that was just simply a different way to get to the same good ending. So, he really only has 2 endings, just, like I said, 2 different ways to get to the other one. So that was kind of a waste of time, but hey, it's there for those of you who were looking for a walkthrough. And you got to see a few extra little scenes, I suppose. Alright, well, since Hijikata's line is so long, I'm gonna go ahead and do Heisuke next, although I'm really not looking forward to it exactly, because the one type of guy I don't like is the energetic young little brat. So, yeah, not my type. But he should be shorter than Hijikata, so I might as well do him first. So, hope to see you there or in some of my other videos, and I'd be so grateful for any likes, comments, subscriptions, or shares with your friends to show some support. Thank you so much for joining me, and I wish you all health, happiness, and safety. Dirili signing out. Bye-bye, everybody.